let's chat. So today, I'm just gonna go over a few things about couples therapy. I realize that's something that I haven't talked a lot about on my channel, and as I'm doing more couples work, I think it's important to share some of the things that I've learned about just the couples therapeutic process. So there's like this running joke on social media where, guys will be like, yeah, I told my girl I'm gonna go talk to the lady. And so the lady is usually meant to signify like a therapist, right? Like, I'm gonna go talk to the lady. Like, I knew I messed up. I went and talked to the lady. So it's like this little joke pretty much saying like when people mess up, they go and they realize like in order to show this person that they should take me back or that we should be together is to get an outside perspective involved, which is alluding to a therapist. So I like the little joke because I'm the lady. Yes, y'all need to go talk to the lady. So I always think that it's interesting how couples end up using couples therapy as something that is a reaction versus proactive. You don't want to wait until things are at their absolute worst, like damn near no turning back for you to be like, okay, let's go talk to a professional and see if somebody can help us work out our issues. Or the beauty in couples therapy is a good therapist will also help you consider what are your options. Like, y'all don't have to be together. So whether that be whether that looks like breaking up, getting a divorce, a therapist is usually there to help you all kind of decipher what's really the best route. And so we know that a lot of couples, when they are having new problems or they're having problems that have been repeated throughout the history of their relationship, that is when they start to kind of think about, well, maybe we should go and talk to somebody. And so I think sometimes people come into it with a poor expectation that, okay, this therapist is getting ready to fix all of our problems. Whether that be individual or couples, therapists are not there to fix all of your issues. We are there to give you some guidance, to give you tools so that you and your partner can go off and fix your issues yourself. And that's usually what we kind of see doesn't happen sometimes. So like couples will come and they'll be there every week or they'll make it to their session bi-weekly, but they're not doing the work outside of session. So if you're somebody who is in a relationship, you've considered couples therapy, I think it's important to also talk about like the harsh realities of it, because it doesn't always end in bliss. And that is the difficult part. A lot of couples come in and they do not realize that shit is about to get real, because relationships, marriages, they expose the worst parts of yourself and your partner's worst parts of themselves and how those worst parts are contributing to the downfall of you all's relationship. So because it's Valentine's Day, this month I'm trying to focus my content around relationships and dating and love. If you've been rocking with me, y'all know I love, okay? So I want to see people win when they come and see me, but I also have to make sure that I'm being mindful of how much time is going past, and are we just coming and we just talking about the same things over and over again and nobody is doing any work? Because I'm not gonna set y'all up like that. It's gonna come to a point where, I'm like, hey, looks to me like you all have hit a wall. And so we might need to reevaluate what's going on here and how serious you guys are about fixing your problems or staying together. Like, sometimes you have to get real, because you'll continue to see the couple and help them work out stuff. But again, that work outside of session matters. So I just want to talk about what are the harsh realities of going to couples therapy, because it's not all like, oh, we're just communicating so much better. It don't happen right away. So, and really what I see sometimes is most times when couples start, some couples don't delve right into all their issues. It comes off very like, oh, well, sometimes we argue or, we disagree, like very lighthearted. And then the more you see that couple, when you asking the right questions, it's gonna get deeper and deeper, and then all of a sudden all the stuff is just gonna start bubbling to the surface for y'all to deal with. So based off the post that I did on my business Instagram, that's what I'll be referencing today. I think it's important. I really was excited to put the harsh realities of couples therapy post out because I think it's just things that people don't consider. Like they think, oh, we're gonna go in this and this is gonna save my relationship or this is gonna save my marriage. And sometimes you may end up being like, okay, so going to couples therapy actually reinforce the fact that we need to break up. Okay, so the first harsh reality I have is things will probably get worse before they get better. When you're coming into therapy with, histories of stuff like infidelity or even just communication issues, somebody having money problems, because we know that money can be an issue with relationships, and it's one of the hugest reasons as to why people get divorced. So it may come to a point where y'all are like, after our sessions, we're fighting. Like, we're fighting more than we were fighting before. But that's usually because that therapist is bringing up stuff that is going unsaid. They're bringing up things that you all have been avoiding or you haven't been comfortable talking about. And so, of course, that's going to generate further conversation. So it's very common for me to, see a couple that after one session and then, I'm asking like, what were your post-therapy conversations like? Because there usually always are some. And just kind of knowing how they handled those conversations. What did they get out of them? Did they provide them with any type of knowledge or conclusions, that sort of thing? So the next one is that individual therapy may be needed in order for couples therapy to work effectively. This is something huge that I see. A lot of people who've never done therapy individually, they are very quick, to say like, okay, I'm in this relationship, shit going south, let's go talk to a therapist. But so many of the problems that most of the time come up in relationships can be based on individual issues. So I'll give you an example. I had a couple that I was working with. The guy is, and I think I talked about this in the Complacency video that I did. So pretty much the guy, he's not happy with his work. He wants to be doing other things. He also has some insecurities within himself. That is spilling out into their relationship because, it's come to a point where he isn't very trustworthy. He doesn't like for her to wear certain clothes. He doesn't like for her to hang out with certain friends that she done had. They've been together for a long time. Friends that she's always had, but he feels like they're not the best influence. But again, it goes back to the trust thing. It's like not really trusting his partner fully for whatever reason. It hasn't been, it's not like she has a history of cheating on him. It's just kind of like, it's an insecurity within himself, whether that be because he not on his A game. He knows it's some men out here who are on their A game who could come in and sweep her up, so that's spilling out because he's not satisfied with where he is and what he's doing in life. It's spilling out into their relationship and it's manifesting in other ways, like I said, in trying to dictate what she wears, who she hangs out with, and these are his internal feelings that he's not dealing with. So again, if somebody has a history of abuse or trauma and they've never addressed it, and a part of them feels apprehensive, because I've seen that happen. One of my clients, she has not told the person that she's dating about the fact that she's been in an abusive relationship. And so for him, there's a lack of understanding of where some of her triggers come from. And why, she's the type of person who she has some anger issues. So if she feels like anybody is a threat to her, whether it be a verbal threat or a physical threat, her mind goes into fight or flight. But he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand, why if he says certain things or he gets in certain moods and, making really certain like just unnecessary remarks, why it's like a switch and she just takes off on, him, whoever else is around. But that's important for your partner to know. You should be able to be vulnerable with them. You should not have to worry about them using that information against you. But again, that history that she has is affecting how she responds in certain situations. And so when we have difficult past and, past that have really shaped us that we haven't figured out, how to properly heal from, or how to, shift perspective so that we can function in a more productive way, then our partners can get the brunt end of that. So consider, I usually end up telling, usually once I get into couples therapy and I can realize that somebody got some stuff they ain't dealt with, I'll be like, you should probably get you an individual therapist too. And the beauty is that if people grant permission, that individual therapist can also consult with that couples therapist, and you can really kind of come together to make sure that the plans match up. This is what I'm seeing. This is what you're seeing. This is what we feel like can really help with that person individually and help as far as contributing to the improvements in their relationship. Okay. So number 3, you may realize that you've been settling. You may realize that, and another part of settling is you may realize that you and your partner are not compatible. And that's the thing, right? Is like usually the therapist can see when 2 people come into couples therapy and they're not compatible just across the board. And it may be more, of course, like the people in the relationship didn't realize that. I had a client who had gotten married. I knew the person that she was seeing for couples therapy. I knew the couples therapist, but I was seeing her individually. And the way she would describe the background information that I got from that couples therapist, in addition to what she told me about their relationship, even though I hadn't met that man, I could clearly see y'all are not compatible. She's social. She likes to go out. He's a homebody. And that's not to say that can't work out, but there is no middle ground, and now that COVID has happened, they were dealing with the fact that, cause he used to work, be a truck driver. So he used to be gone and she would be out doing her own thing when they were dating. So she didn't really realize that, there are things that this man isn't giving me emotionally that I'm missing because I'm able to distract myself with other things. But as we know with COVID kind of shut down all distractions. So during these last, these months, she had to really look at her marriage and say damn, I didn't realize he was like this. But this is why it's so necessary to have, have certain conversations to really understand your partner in depth. And they had been dating for a while before they got married. So it's like something was missed. They still decided to get married. And now here we are kind of working backwards. That's another part of couples therapy is if certain steps were missed in the dating process and the, getting to know you stuff, we end up having to work backwards and really get you all to come together and compromise on things that most couples do earlier on, So realizing that it can be difficult, but yeah, so back to my original point. You might realize you've been settling. You might realize that you've been with this person and they really don't fill you up. And so then you have to decide do I stay in this situation and see if this person can give me or offer me more? Or do I have to walk away and, kind of accept some responsibility for the fact that I didn't hold the standards that I had for myself. All right, so the next one is you may decide to end the relationship, which is what I kind of said at the beginning of this. It's sometimes you realize that your issues are too far gone, or you realize one of these things that I'm listing, and then that is enough for you to be yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Or I don't think I should do this anymore. Or I don't think it's best for me, Okay, the next one is you may realize you don't know your partner as well as you thought you did. So going back to kind of what I just said as far as that example with that couple who had been together, they got married, and then they had kind of separate lifestyles. And when COVID, shut everything down, that put a lot of people inside, forcing them to connect or confront things that they normally wouldn't have had to had they still been getting up and going to work. And so, you may just come to this point where you're realizing damn, do I even know this person? And time will do that. You spend so much, you with somebody for so many years and you think you know who they are, but then as some of these more deeper conversations come about, you realize I don't even think I knew those things about you. I didn't know you thought like that, you felt like that. You may realize that, like, values as far as relationships are important. It's important for people to have shared values. That's what kind of adds to compatibility overall and being like equally yoked. And so if you kind of realize that maybe you've been downplaying something that's really valuable to you because of your partner, then it's just like, I see why we're having certain issues, because I'm not being true to who I am for the sake of the relationship. Okay, so the next one is, you may realize that time or children has been the only thing keeping you together. This is a huge one. I talk to so many women who are either staying with their partner because they want their kid to have that family unit, or I'm sorry, y'all, I lost my train of thought. Y'all know how I tell y'all when I do that. So back to what I was saying. You end up realizing that, like, I want my kid to have this life with these two parents, and so I kind of just been dealing with certain stuff that I know I don't need to be dealing with for the sake of trying to preserve that image. And while I'm on this subject, let me just make it very clear for you all, especially, and no, I'm not going to say especially for the women. I feel like this is for men and women, because I feel like a lot of times men stay in relationships that they are not happy with for the sake of the child as well. I don't think that is only a woman thing. I think men do that too. Men settle and end up staying with women who they never, were really super passionate about, who they loved or whatever, because they end up having a kid with her. And one thing I just think it's important for people to know is that children are smart little devils. They know, they are intuitive. So why do we think that it is better to raise a child in a house where there is arguing or tension or just negative energy because you and that person do not like each other for real, instead of allowing them to see their parents separate, thriving, and happy? I don't know where we get that from, of thinking like, I understand the image. Most people want to be able to give their child that family unit, but we also need to start working on enforcing the fact that there are different types of families. A family, I've had to explain that to, kids whose parents are going through a divorce and they having feelings about it because they think they losing their family. We have to tell children and ourselves there are different forms of family. It's not just a mom and a dad and a kid, Sometimes it's a mom and a kid, or a dad and a kid, or a grandma and mom and a kid. We have to normalize the fact that there are different family structures. And so that relinquishes of some of that pressure to feel like I have to stay in this relationship to give my child this unit. I have a client who, she was like, I think her son is like 2 or 3. She was like, I feel like my son is just so happy when he sees me and his father together. And without giving up too much of her business, like, that man dogged her. They're just now, kind of like getting to a place where, and even still, like, he got his own issues that kind of disrupt them being able to be cordial. But, she's in a new relationship, but she thinks about, like, should I get back with him for the sake of my child? And we really had to break down the fact that, like, you saying that your child sees y'all together and he's happy. He's happy because his parents look like they're happy in that moment. That child is 2 and 3 years old. He doesn't know that y'all are happy because y'all are romantically involved or because y'all not. He just sees his parents being pleasant to one another and being around each other. And that is one of the goals of being able to co-parent when kids come into this situation, is that you should be able to be around each other, go out and do things together for the sake of the child, and be cordial and pleasant. So that's what those kids see. They just want to see y'all being cool. And if you ain't realized, so many more couples end up being on better terms when they are not together. There are grown adults who will tell you, I was so glad when my parents divorced, because they are much better off as as friends and co-parents than they ever were married or together or whatever, romantic. So sorry I got off track, but I felt like that's really, it's really important to understand that you can still give your child a great family dynamic without necessarily having to be with somebody and the situation is dysfunctional or toxic or unhealthy. Okay. And time too. Time is the other part of this. It's like when couples are together for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, shoot, even sometimes less than that, they feel like they've used such a big chunk of their life where they don't want to walk away from it and not feel like, what do I have to show for all of those years? But we have to remember that, when we date and we're in relationships, we are there to experience people. That does not mean that they are necessarily going to belong to us for forever. I'm sorry, that's a harsh reality. Even with marriage, you want to go into it thinking that. You do. But people, when you talk about lifelong, when you talk about years together, people grow into different versions of themselves. And so, 20-year-old me and you, we was probably on the same page. But 25-year-old me and you may not be on the same page. 30-year-old me and you may not be on the same page. And then if there's an age gap, that we just may outgrow each other. Where what I find to be important and valuable, you may not find that to be important and valuable anymore. And that's kind of the risk with especially relationships that kind of started in high school or college and then move into early adulthood up into your 30s. Those are such transformative years where it is expected. I'm not, as a almost 30-year-old woman, I bet not be who I was when I was 18, who I was 21, So it's really those are the years that I find people to have the hardest, or once y'all have kids and the older people who start to their kids start to move out and then they realize it's just them. They done had 20 years to focus on these kids, 18 years, whatever you want to call it, where them kids was their whole life. And then them kids move out, they go have their own lives, and now we got to figure out it's just me and you. So what's keeping us together outside of this time and outside of these kids? All right, so the next one is one partner may be more committed to doing the work than the other. And then I'll just add this second one because they kind of go together. This last one because they go together. One partner may already be checked out of the relationship. So it may be one person who is trying to save it because they feel that it's declining. But we know that people check out before they officially break up with somebody. They may just be there biding their time until it take one more thing and they be like, all right, I'm out. We've seen many times where women, they've broken up what seems to be for petty reasons. Oh no, that whatever seems to be petty, that was just the icing on top of the cake. It was stuff happening before then that was a build up to that. And it usually always is. People don't just wake up one day and decide they don't want to be with you. They have been thinking about that. They have been considering what they feel, how the relationship affects them, and they've just been working up the nerve to leave. So it can be difficult when you are doing couples therapy and one person is resistant. Because in general, I don't like working with resistant clients because, you're not court ordered. So that means it's a choice for you to be here. And so because that's a choice, I expect there to be a certain amount of effort and participation. And so if somebody has already kind of made up their mind and they just come in to kind of hear you out, it might just be time to accept that that relationship is coming to an end. And so even with the whole idea of somebody being more committed to doing the work, one person, they may kind of be okay with the status of things. The other one may have come to this realization that certain needs aren't getting met for them. And so they don't want to just kind of toss the relationship to the side, but they do need to consider, all right, so what are you going to do to make this better? But if that person is just kind of or you've made it seem like you was going to leave before, didn't leave, they feel like now they could do whatever and you ain't going to go nowhere, that gives them even less motivation to actually put in some work and change. Okay? So, again, the therapist is there to give these foundational tools that you have to use in order to see improvements. And if nobody's doing the work, or only one party is doing the work, something that I see, I've mentioned on here before, is if the woman was like, hey, we need to go to couples therapy, the guy agrees, and now we're doing this, and I'm assigning homework. This is what I want y'all to read about communication or attachment or boundaries or whatever. They come back to session. I did my homework and I don't know about him. No, y'all need to do the homework together. It has to be a collective. The purpose of therapy homework in couples therapy, most of the time, unless I specifically be like, do this individually and we'll discuss it together. No, it's meant to generate conversation. So if you over here, you doing your homework, you trying to understand your habits better, and your partner is just kind of like whatever, it's not gonna work. And then you're gonna get even more frustrated because here you are trying to do the work, and then the other person isn't. Okay, so as I wrap up, because look, I ain't even hold y'all that long today. So I hope that helps as far as understanding kind of what the expectations for couples therapy to be. It's important that you and your partner, before y'all go and schedule that session with the lady, are you ask yourself, like, are y'all ready to do the work? Like, are we both committed to wanting to see our relationship grow and get better? And if both of you all can sit and have that honest conversation before the therapist's office, all the therapist's gonna do is just bring that out. Like, it's gonna end up coming out. But would you rather have that understanding before you start, or you realize y'all been in couples therapy for 6 months and ain't nothing going nowhere? And that's sometimes what happens. I have to tell clients, like, I feel like we've hit a wall where, it may be more frequent disagreements or whatever, but I'm giving y'all tools and something still ain't clicking. And that's not to say that these tools work overnight. They take practice, But it's like, if I've been seeing a couple for almost 6 months or around that time, what y'all been doing? What y'all doing? What y'all doing when I'm not around? And that's sometimes what comes out in session. Is like, I had one couple and things got really heated in the session. So I sent them both away. I said, take a moment. Let's reset, and you all come back in 5 minutes. So they come back, and, we continue the conversation. But the guy is like, would you, asking the partner, would you have been able to come back and reconvene this conversation without Brittany here? Which tells me that, like, apparently when they fight at home, the emotions rise. And instead of just taking a break and then allowing each other to calm down and then come back, they just, the partner who maybe gets emotionally overwhelmed is just like whatever and kind of tosses it to the side, and then it's never readdressed. So that's important is, when that therapist isn't there, what are you all practicing? Are you really practicing better habits? Okay, so I think that's it. Go to couples therapy, go to therapy. Y'all know I'm gonna preach that till they put me in the ground. Okay, get you some help. Still accepting clients. If you know somebody, send them my way. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be doing more couples related like videos and content, especially because I'm doing more of that work. And y'all know I love. So whenever I can take some real life examples from what I'm learning, I learn just as much from my clients as they learn from me, and share them so I can help other people have an understanding of like what be really going on, because it sounds real cute. I know y'all have seen the couples therapy shows where it get like real rowdy and stuff like that. And it don't seem like they really do, because when stuff is filmed for TV, it's only like that. I feel like that'd be like just to get you started. They may film them shows, especially like the celebrity type stuff. They may film them shows for like 2 months, and then people don't, continue to work. But you see, it makes. I had a couple. They started off real cool, like, yeah, we just need a little help communicating. Baby, 2 months later, they was almost boxing in session. Cause like we had to and that's the thing. It may start off smooth, and then it hit that peak when them real issues start coming to the surface. When couples be like, somebody, I'd be like, so what's going on? And they'd be like, yeah, we been cool, da 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 da. But something did happen, and that kind of upset me. And, you know, once they open up that can, then the other partner be like, well, I wasn't going to say nothing, but since you want to bring it up, let's talk. Okay, so yes, let's talk about it. Couples be real concerned about appearing cute and put together. No, y'all here in couples therapy for a reason. So let's get down to it, to the nitty gritty. Ain't no sense in tiptoeing around it like, what are the issues? Because if there ain't no issues, then what y'all need me for? Okay? All right, so y'all have a good rest of y'all evening.